right out of the phone. Diminish this effect a little bit by putting a case on. We've already got the later case ready for the S20 Ultra, but also the other S20 devices. And as you can see, that little ramp there kind of obfuscates the huge amount of liftoff. This will also help with fingerprints, give you a little more grip. Those are actually available right now. Anyhow, so what makes this phone so special? It's the camera to start, particularly this lens down on the bottom. 100x zoom, Samsung is saying. It's a combination of various zoom techniques, starting with optical and then adding other stuff to it. The other cool thing here is a massive megapixel count at 108 megapixels on the main camera. Now, granted, you might think to yourself, I've seen 108 megapixels before. You don't want 108 megapixels because that means you get really small pixels, possibly bad low light performance. Well, Samsung claims to have some technology in here that's going to actually do some binning of those pixels, and in certain circumstances, pile them together to behave more like a lower megapixel count sensor in the right circumstance, if you know what I'm saying. Straight away, that's a big phone. I'll give you a quick comparison. This is the plus size phone from last year. That's the S10 Plus. It's fatter, it's taller, it's even a bit wider by the looks of it. You know, you can probably appreciate a bigger form factor because that bigger form factor normally houses a bigger battery, and this is a huge battery. It's a 5,000 milliamp hour battery inside of here. That's a 6.9-inch AMOLED display. You have the baked-in ultrasonic fingerprint scanner, and as you can see, that's a tiny little front-facing camera cutout. So less distracting than some of the other implementations that are out there for front-facing cameras. They got a little bit less aggressive around the edges with the curvature. So hopefully what that means by having a slightly flatter screen is that you're gonna have fewer of those accidental presses on the display. This thing, it's got the Snapdragon 865, it's got 5G built into it. It's got up to 16 gigs of RAM. Will, did you hear that? 16 gigs of RAM on a phone, on a smartphone? What are you doing on your smartphone, Will? Will doesn't know what he's doing on his smartphone. This is a 120 hertz display, at least in 1080p. And what that gives you is a phone that feels significantly faster than a phone that has a lower refresh rate. Is it actually faster? It doesn't really matter. The fact is, if it feels snappier to you, then it is. And you can see that this tiny little front-facing camera, it's not bugging you at all, barely. I mean, there's some dance moves for you. 5 of what are already incredibly loud Bluetooth speakers on their own. The loudest Bluetooth speaker. Okay, it's a loud, it's definitely a loud speaker, but maybe given the form factor of the device, maybe I was expecting it to be a little bit louder. This thing's gonna start at $13.99, and I think the majority of interest is going to exist because of the improved camera setup. People are gonna compare this to all the other flagships. People are gonna compare this to the iPhones of the world, and even to the previous generation, to the S10, because the S10 is gonna drop in price now, and it's gonna become a lot more attractive. Let's do some tests over here. Let's go see Willie Doo. As you can see here, we got Willie Doo framed up, and there's the 3 options right within the main app. You have the 0.5x ultra wide. I'm a big fan of this. This is cool. Bang, you take that. This is your standard 1x lens. Bang, you take that. There's your 5x, my goodness, zoom. Will is not a fan of that, and he was getting full out beauty mode there. Right out the gate. Straight out the app, right out the gate. Softened you right up, man. Took care of you. That's your standard, that's a nice looking camera. And that's your wide, of course, architecture, travel, nature, get more in the frame. Big group shot, I'm a big fan of the wide. You're not really stuck in the stock mode here. They give you some tremendous options, including a pro mode, which lets you go bananas with your various settings. I mean, these are similar to pro camera settings. So everything is baked in there in pro mode, but they've also got a fancy mode this year called single take. It's actually gonna take a little bit of everything all at once. And then you can choose after the fact, whatever you think was the coolest thing captured. Bang, there it is. Capturing meaningful moments. Keep moving, Will. Trying new angles. Panning around. Capturing more. We have the animated Willy Do. We have their suggestion, which was this one moment where he's looking real tough. He's a UFC fighter, and the camera pans to him when he's sitting in the crowd, and they got to do something. They're like, so you can never criticize or blame Samsung for not throwing options and features into their thing. In the video mode, they went straight bananas because they added up to 8K video recording, 7680 by 4320 on your phone. I hear your concerns. Where are you gonna even watch 8K? What are you gonna do with 8K? Unless you're Kirk, Captain Cinema over there. He's got all kinds of places for 8K. We're gonna roll on a clip here. All right, Will, you're on camera in 8K. I don't believe you've ever been recorded in 8K before.
Too much high fidelity.
It's too many pixels for you. Okay, so, but I gotta say, I'm gonna move in on your camera a little bit. It is tremendous detail. It's got some noise to it, I'll tell you what. Ooh, all right. Very sensitive on the autofocus. Fairly tremendous image when it grabs it. Of course, we got Jack. What's happening? And we got Kirk as well. You deserve to be in 8K since you started it all.
Cinematic.
There you go. You can also edit 8K straight on here. There was an argument that Samsung made. They said you could pull a frame from it, a super high res video still, and now you can shoot video instead and have all this resolution to work with when you grab a frame out. I don't know if regular people are gonna use this that way. They gotta be at the top of that spec sheet. If they want $1,400 from you, they have to think about bringing features that you might not be using right now, like 5G, for example, like 16 gigs of RAM, like 512 gigs of storage, which also happens to be expandable on this particular device. There's no headphone jack. Not that I expected to see one. I mean, other phones still have it if you absolutely need to have a headphone jack. All right, this phone is getting kind of disgusting. I don't know if Jack can see it or not. We'll give you a shot. I mean, these things pick up fingerprints, but I don't want to lose the actual form factor of the device either. That's why this is the thing. That's the later case. And every time I switch to a new phone, I'd be mad that I couldn't find a thin Kevlar case for that new model when it launched. It was an annoyance to myself, so that's why we developed this one. And as you can tell straight away, that's a better look. You don't want to see your fingerprints, man. We almost forgot to do the zoom test, Will, the 100x. Did you know the world was waiting for this? Now look at this top section right here, Jack, how it shows you where you're aiming, because it gets really hard to figure out what we're looking at. We have the Brixton logo filling the frame right now. It's trying to scan it. It knows it's a document at that range. You're probably gonna be pretty much done with the zoom around 10x. Maybe in some really nice lighting, you'd go beyond that, but there's your 10x shot. Yeah, it's usable around there. But once you get into the fancy stuff, well beyond the optical, it's obvious the thing starts to break up. Outdoors in daylight, you might get some more play. You get a faster shutter and all the rest of it. It's so hard in 2020 to differentiate yourself as a smartphone maker, especially if you want to charge the absolute premium for your phone. So we are at a point where you have to pack features that people might not even necessarily need to use right now or want to use. They may use it once and get some sort of a rush out of the fact that they could zoom halfway across the street. They might not open it again, but they know they have it, and that is worth something. It's a question for the individual how much that's actually worth. And that's why Samsung puts out other versions of the phone that are cheaper, the S20 and S20 Plus. Let's go look at those now.